You know what's fascinating about greatness? It's not just what you accomplish on the field, it's how you fundamentally alter the trajectory of everyone who comes near you. Shohei Ohtani doesn't just win games. He changes lives, reshapes careers, and forces elite athletes to reconsider everything they thought they knew about excellence. And right now, across Major League Baseball, some of the game's biggest names are openly admitting that this one man has completely transformed how they see their own potential. The World Series matchup between the Dodgers and Blue Jays brought all of this into sharp focus. Toronto's run to the championship was legitimately shocking, knocking off the heavily favored Mariners in the ALCS and earning their shot at glory. But underneath all the celebration and analysis, there was this undercurrent nobody could ignore. The Blue Jays were facing the player they couldn't sign. 2 years ago, Toronto went all in trying to land Ohtani as a free agent. They pulled out every possible pitch, showcased their city, highlighted their roster, made their financial case, and Ohtani chose Los Angeles instead. Now here they were, standing across from him on baseball's biggest stage, and the tension was absolutely electric. Toronto fans weren't shy about their feelings either. The "we don't need you" chants rippled through the stadium during Ohtani's at-bats. This defiant declaration that they'd reached the World Series without him anyway, it was sports theater at its finest, rejection and vindication colliding in real time. But here's what made it even more interesting. One of the Blue Jays' own players couldn't quite maintain that same energy when it came to Ohtani. Alek Manoah is not known for backing down from anyone. This is a guy who got ejected in 2021 for arguing balls and strikes with the kind of intensity that makes you wonder if he's physically capable of fear. He's called out Garrett Cole, one of the game's most dominant pitchers, without blinking. Teammates and fans call him the fighting dog because he approaches every competition like it's personal. You face Manoah, you're getting everything he has, and he's not going to pretend to respect you just because you're good, except when it comes to Shohei Ohtani, even Manoah's armor cracks. April 7th, 2023, Angels visiting Toronto. Before the game, Manoah wandered over to the visitors' bullpen where Ohtani was warming up. This is normally when pitchers study their opponents, looking for tells, trying to get inside their heads, maintaining that competitive edge. But Manoah wasn't doing any of that. He was grinning like a kid at a baseball card show who just spotted his hero. He walked right up to Ohtani and started examining his glove, this massive piece of equipment that looked even bigger in person. "Cool glove. Way bigger than I thought," Manoah said, laughing. Then he added with this perfect comedic timing, "Don't worry, I didn't smell it." The local media couldn't believe what they were seeing. This was the same guy who trash talks elite opponents without hesitation, and here he was acting like he'd just met his childhood idol. It wasn't an act either. You could see the genuine admiration in his face, this unguarded moment of respect between competitors. Later, Manoah would talk about that interaction with obvious fondness, describing the way Ohtani carried himself with this quiet confidence that didn't need to announce itself. Even warriors recognize when they're standing next to someone operating on a different level entirely. But recognition doesn't mean surrender, and Manoah made that clear a few months later. July 30th, 2023, Blue Jays hosting the Angels in a scoreless game, 5th inning, 1 out, runner on first. Ohtani steps into the batter's box, and Toronto's dugout makes the call. Intentional walk. The crowd absolutely erupts, booing the decision to pitch around him. Why are they afraid to face him? Why won't they let him swing? The noise was deafening, fans demanding their team show some courage. Manoah stood on the mound following orders he clearly didn't agree with. After the game, reporters asked him about it, and his answer revealed everything. "This wasn't my decision, but right now I want to chase the player called the best in the world." Think about that phrasing. Chase the player called the best in the world. He didn't say beat him or get him out. He said chase him, like Ohtani was already somewhere ahead, and Manoah's goal was to close the distance. It was respect and ambition wrapped together. This acknowledgement that facing Ohtani represented the ultimate test of his abilities as a pitcher. That mindset, that drive to compete against the absolute best, defined Manoah's rise through MLB. He became Toronto's ace, the guy they trusted to start opening day in 2023. He finished as a Cy Young finalist the year before, earning votes as one of the best pitchers in baseball. Everyone projected him as a cornerstone of Toronto's future, someone who'd anchor their rotation for years. But baseball is cruel sometimes, and Manoah's performance collapsed. By September 2025, the Blue Jays designated him for assignment, essentially releasing him from the roster. It was a stunning fall from grace for someone who'd been at the top so recently. The Atlanta Braves picked him up almost immediately, giving him a chance to rebuild his career somewhere new. Manoah quietly changed his Instagram bio to throwing for the Braves. No dramatic announcement, no long explanation, just a simple acknowledgement that he was starting over. And here's where the Ohtani connection becomes even more meaningful. Manoah has undergone Tommy John surgery, the elbow reconstruction that ended countless pitching careers before modern medicine made it survivable. It's a brutal process, months of rehab, uncertainty about whether your arm will ever feel the same, doubts creeping in about whether you can still compete at the highest level. Shohei Ohtani had Tommy John surgery twice. And he came back from both procedures to dominate as both a pitcher and a hitter, doing things nobody thought physically possible after that kind of trauma. For Manoah, struggling through his own comeback, Ohtani's example had to be this constant reminder that recovery was achievable. If he could do it, I can too. Having someone who's been through the same hell and emerged even stronger on the other side, that's not just inspiration, that's proof that the path exists. Manoah's career is in its second chapter now, and nobody knows how the story ends. Maybe he rediscovers that Cy Young form in Atlanta. Maybe he becomes a solid mid-rotation guy. Maybe he never quite gets back to where he was. But whatever happens, he'll always have that moment in Toronto's bullpen, examining Ohtani's glove with pure admiration, and that game where he begged for the chance to compete against the best in the world. Those memories will push him forward when the rehab gets hard and the doubts get loud. Manoah's story is compelling because it's so personal and specific, but he's far from the only player who's been fundamentally changed by Ohtani's presence. Blake Snell, a two-time Cy Young Award winner, literally restructured his entire career around the opportunity to play alongside him. Last December, Snell left the San Diego Padres to sign a 5-year, $182 million contract with the Dodgers. The money was obviously significant, but Snell made it crystal clear that finances weren't the primary motivation. At his introductory press conference in Los Angeles, Snell didn't waste time with corporate answers about organizational fit or market appeal. He went straight to the heart of it. I had no doubts. It was really a simple choice. What Shohei has accomplished in his career is truly amazing. If you want to play at the highest level, it's only natural to want to play near Shohei. The way he said it, with this matter-of-fact tone like it was the most obvious decision in the world, told you everything about how elite players view Ohtani. This wasn't a sales pitch he'd been coached to deliver. This was genuine reverence. Dodgers Blue, a local media outlet, ran the story under the headline "Snell wants to grow alongside Shohei," and that framing was perfect. This wasn't about riding Ohtani's coattails to easy wins. This was about improvement. About pushing yourself by being around someone who operates at a level you're still trying to reach. Snell already has 2 Cy Young awards. He's already proven he's one of the best pitchers of his generation. But he recognized that proximity to greatness breeds more greatness, and he wanted that energy in his daily life. The fascinating part is that Ohtani didn't recruit Snell personally. There were no private phone calls, no dinner meetings where Ohtani sold him on the Dodgers' vision. Snell made this decision entirely based on who Ohtani is and what he represents. That's an almost unprecedented level of gravitational pull from one athlete. Usually, superstar teammates recruit each other, promising championships and great chemistry. Ohtani didn't have to do anything. His existence was enough. Snell's fascination with Ohtani goes back years. In March 2025, he traveled to Japan for the Tokyo series, and his reaction to being in Ohtani's home country was absolutely priceless. At a press conference, laughing, he described walking around Tokyo and seeing Ohtani's face everywhere. Posters in train stations, advertisements on buildings, endorsement deals in every convenience store. Honestly, it was amazing, Snell said. Still sounding a bit awestruck by the scale of Ohtani's celebrity in Japan, video surfaced of Snell posing with an Ohtani poster inside a convenience store, this goofy tourist moment that went viral because fans love seeing a Cy Young winner fanboying over another player. But Snell's respect wasn't new. Back in 2021, when they were still opponents, Snell talked about facing Ohtani with this mix of frustration and admiration. He throws 100-mile-per-hour fastballs and can hit home runs reliably. I sincerely hope he can keep doing two-way baseball. At the time, there were still real questions about Ohtani's durability. Whether his body could sustain both roles long-term, Snell was openly rooting for him to succeed, not as a rival hoping for failure, but as someone who appreciated witnessing something historic. Now, they're teammates, and the reality has exceeded even Snell's optimistic projections. October 2025, Game 4 of the NLCS. Ohtani put together one of those performances that reminds you why he's different from everyone else in baseball history. 10 strikeouts through 7 scoreless innings on the mound. 3 home runs at the plate. It was video game stuff, the kind of stat line that doesn't seem possible in real life. After the game, reporters asked Snell about it, and his response was perfect. I couldn't do that. The way he laughed when he said it, this genuine disbelief mixed with appreciation, showed he understood exactly how rare this was. When pressed to choose whether the 10 strikeouts or 3 home runs was more impressive, Snell didn't hesitate. The 3 homers. That was insane. A Cy Young winner, one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball, was more impressed by Ohtani's hitting than his pitching. Let that sink in. Snell knows how hard it is to strike out 10 major league hitters in 7 innings. He's done it himself multiple times, but even he couldn't wrap his head around someone doing that and then casually launching 3 balls over the fence in the same game. What Snell represents is this new generation of stars who aren't threatened by Ohtani's success. They're energized by it. They see him as proof that the ceiling is higher than anyone thought, that human potential in baseball extends further than conventional wisdom suggested. When you aim for the highest level, someone like Shohei becomes a huge source of motivation, Snell said. Just having him in the lineup makes you feel stronger. That's not just roster construction. That's spiritual, this belief that excellence is contagious if you put yourself in the right environment. Then there's Brandon Marsh, whose connection to Ohtani is more intimate and personal. Marsh, now an outfielder with the Philadelphia Phillies, spent the early part of his career with the Angels, playing alongside Ohtani when he was still figuring out how to survive in the big leagues. Marsh has talked openly about struggling with high fastballs, getting exposed by good pitching, and losing confidence in his ability to hit major league stuff. That's when Ohtani quietly stepped in. Shohei was like a big brother to me, Marsh recalled, his voice carrying real affection. It wasn't just technical advice about swing mechanics or approach. Ohtani supported him emotionally, offering words of encouragement when Marsh was beating himself up over poor performances. He wasn't just a superstar. To me, he was a reliable older brother. That distinction matters because it speaks to how Ohtani treats teammates, regardless of their status. Marsh was a struggling rookie. Ohtani was already the face of baseball, yet Ohtani made time to build that relationship, to make Marsh feel valued and supported. When Marsh got traded to Philadelphia in 2022, the goodbye in the Angels clubhouse was genuinely emotional. Teammates who witnessed it described the scene as like a family saying goodbye, this long embrace between Ohtani and Marsh, where neither seemed ready to let go. It wasn't performative for cameras. It was real grief over separation, the kind of bond that goes beyond professional respect into genuine love. Even the way Marsh handled Ohtani's surgery a year later revealed the depth of their relationship. When Ohtani underwent elbow surgery, Marsh deliberately didn't reach out immediately. I knew Shohei was busy, so I wanted to give him space, Marsh explained. He was thinking like a younger brother who doesn't want to burden his older sibling with one more obligation during a difficult time. That consideration, that emotional intelligence, shows how seriously Marsh took the relationship. This wasn't about staying connected for networking purposes. This was family. The cultural and language barriers make their bond even more remarkable. Shohei didn't speak much English, but our hearts connected, Marsh said. They communicated through rock, paper, scissors games, through heart gestures, through laughter that transcended language. When words fail, genuine affection finds other channels. That's what happened here. Two people from completely different backgrounds connecting on a human level that had nothing to do with baseball statistics or career trajectories. Today, Marsh still talks about Ohtani with this mixture of admiration and longing. If I meet Shohei again, I want to learn from him at the plate. There's still so much I want to learn from him. Marsh is an established major leaguer now, someone who's proven he belongs at this level. But he still sees Ohtani as the master, the person whose knowledge and approach could unlock the next level of his own development. That humility, that willingness to remain a student even after achieving success, that's what separates good players from great ones. What connects Manoah, Snell, and Marsh isn't their position or age or accomplishments. It's this gravitational pull Ohtani exerts without even trying. He doesn't recruit. He doesn't campaign. He doesn't market himself as a leader. He just exists at this level of excellence, with this approach to work, with this character, and people can't help but be drawn to him. Snell saying it's only natural to want to play near Shohei, and Marsh saying Shohei was like a big brother to me. These aren't calculated public relations statements. These are genuine emotional reactions to encountering someone truly special. Ohtani has transcended statistics at this point. Yes, the numbers are absurd. 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in his first season, fully recovered from Tommy John surgery, a pitching performance in the NLCS that combined dominance on the mound with historic hitting. But what makes him genuinely transformative isn't what he does. It's how he does it. With this quiet dignity, with this relentless work ethic, with this care for teammates who have nothing to offer him in return. Players like Snell chase his back, trying to reach that same altitude of performance. Players like Marsh follow his heart, trying to embody that same character. Players like Manoah set him as their benchmark, the standard by which they measure whether they've truly made it. All three approaches are valid, and all three speak to different facets of Ohtani's influence. He makes you want to be better as a player, better as a person, better as someone who approaches their craft with integrity and purpose. The really profound thing happening here is that Ohtani is creating a new culture in baseball just by being himself. For decades, the sport celebrated swagger and trash talk, this performative confidence that sometimes crossed into arrogance. There was this sense that you had to dominate verbally and psychologically in addition to performing on the field. Ohtani doesn't do any of that. He lets his work speak entirely for itself. He's polite to opponents, gracious in victory, humble in his accomplishments. And yet he's more feared and respected than almost any trash talker in the game's history. Young players are watching this and learning that you don't have to be loud to be great. You don't have to manufacture drama or controversy to capture attention. Excellence performed with humility is its own kind of power, maybe the most sustainable kind. That lesson will echo through baseball for generations, long after Ohtani retires. The players he's influencing now will become coaches and executives and mentors themselves, passing along the values they absorbed by being near him. There's also something deeply human about watching elite athletes, people who've reached the absolute pinnacle of their profession, openly admit they're starstruck by someone doing what they do. Manoah examining Ohtani's glove like a kid at a memorabilia show. Snell posing with Ohtani posters in Tokyo. Marsh talking about wanting to learn more from him even years after they've been separated. These moments strip away the professional veneer and reveal what's underneath. Genuine awe at someone pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Baseball has always had its legends, its larger-than-life figures who dominated their eras. But Ohtani is doing something different. He's not just dominating, he's expanding the very definition of what a baseball player can be. Before him, the two-way player was a historical curiosity, something Babe Ruth did a century ago that nobody else could replicate in the modern game. Ohtani proved it wasn't just possible. He proved it could be the optimal way to play if you have the talent and determination. That expansion of possibility is what's really changing baseball at a fundamental level. Every young player coming up now knows that specialization isn't the only path. Maybe you can pitch and hit. Maybe you can break every assumption about what bodies can withstand. Maybe the conventional wisdom is wrong, and the only real limits are the ones we accept. Ohtani's career is an argument against limitations, a living example that boundaries exist mostly in our minds. And the truly beautiful part is how generous he is with this knowledge and inspiration. He doesn't hoard it or protect it as a competitive advantage. When Marsh needed support, Ohtani gave it freely. When Snell wanted to grow alongside greatness, Ohtani's presence provided that environment without Ohtani needing to actively do anything. When Manoah wanted to chase the best in the world, Ohtani stood there as that target, unmoved by the challenge, secure in his own pursuit of excellence. That generosity of spirit is rare at the highest levels of sports, where paranoia and selfishness often dominate. Ohtani seems genuinely happy when other players succeed, genuinely invested in their development even when they're not on his team. The way he treated Marsh like family, despite Marsh being a nobody in baseball terms at the time, that reveals someone who values people for who they are, not what they can do for him. This is why the entire MLB is chasing Ohtani in different ways. Some are chasing his performance ceiling, trying to reach that same stratosphere of dominance. Some are chasing his approach to work, trying to embody that same discipline and focus. Some are chasing his character, trying to treat people with that same dignity and respect. All of these pursuits make baseball better, make the sport more interesting, make the competition more meaningful. The Dodgers built their championship team understanding this dynamic. Yes, they needed Ohtani's production on the field, but they also knew his presence would elevate everyone else in the organization, from established stars like Mookie Betts to young players trying to find their way. Culture flows from the top. And when your biggest star is also your hardest worker and your most humble person, that sets a standard nobody can ignore. What we're watching in real time is the Ohtani effect spreading through baseball like ripples in a pond. Every player he interacts with carries that experience into their next team, their next conversation, their next mentorship of a younger player. Marsh will tell Phillies rookies about what he learned from Ohtani. Snell will share stories in the Dodgers clubhouse about why he chose to come to Los Angeles. Manoah will use Ohtani's comebacks from surgery as motivation in Atlanta. The influence compounds over time, reaching people who've never met Ohtani personally but feel his impact nonetheless. This is what legacy actually looks like. Not just statistics in a record book, but changed lives, altered trajectories, inspired choices that create their own cascading effects. Ohtani is building something bigger than a Hall of Fame career. He's building a philosophy, a way of approaching baseball and life that will outlast his playing days by decades. And the most exciting part? He's still getting better. He's still pushing boundaries. He's still showing us things we didn't think were possible. Every season brings new achievements that would be career-defining for anyone else, but feel almost routine for him now. The players chasing him aren't catching up because he keeps raising the bar, but they're better for the chase. They're reaching heights they wouldn't have attempted if they weren't trying to close the gap. So when you watch Shohei Ohtani play baseball, you're not just watching an individual performance. You're watching the entire sport evolve in real time, shaped by one person's refusal to accept limitations. You're watching careers being transformed by proximity to greatness. You're watching the future of baseball being written in the present tense by someone who understands that excellence isn't a destination, it's a never-ending pursuit, and the journey itself is what makes us better. That's the real story behind everyone chasing Ohtani. They're not trying to catch him, they're trying to become who they're capable of being by following the path he's revealed. And that pursuit, that constant striving toward a horizon that keeps expanding, that's what makes sports beautiful in the first place.